right now for our international spotlight session, and we're talking on the topic reserved for international keynote with Jay, who's the head of data analytics Airbus. Well, Jay, with more than 10 years of experience in aviation and data science, leads the Airbus Central Data Analytics team to explore and scale valuable applications of advanced analytics and AI across the country. Thank you so much, Jeff, for joining us today and being a part of the World AI Show. I'd leave the stage and screen to you now.
Hi, thank you, Bhavana. Thanks for the introduction. Glad to be part of the AI Show. Let me just share my slides real quick. All right, let me see. Here we go. All right, you can see this, yeah?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, perfect. Hi, thanks everybody. Thanks for having me. So my name is Jay Stoltzenberg. Yes, I'm the head of the data analytics team. So this is the central team for AI and analytics in Airbus. And today I want to be talking to you about democratizing AI and analytics across the enterprise, or basically how to apply AI across the enterprise at scale. So this is a topic that's very important to us. We're a really large company of 100,000 plus employees, so it would be very tricky just to tackle AI from a central team. So we were really keen on democratizing access to the skills and tools for AI across the company. Let me show you a bit how we go about that. So essentially, the area I'm from was initially the digital transformation office, which had been existing 3 to 4 years. And we've been very successful and had a very large emphasis on embedding AI and analytics across Airbus at scale. And so we've now transferred the approach to the information management domain in Airbus. And really, it's a two-folded strategy. The one that we address centrally is more enabling and de-skilling the problems. So for us, this means this is really where you can see this is our central IM domain team, where we really strive to provide and make accessible data and tools to the wide company, as well as central expertise. So this, for example, also means, and I'll see this in the next slides, that we're developing AI platforms that are reusable, where we can onboard use cases from all over the company onto to really de-skill the problem for analysts in the business with a very complex sort of skill-wise. The other side is really the exploit area. So it's really where we try to see that we apply AI to really start tackling all the problems all over the business at scale. And it really means upskilling the business. So anybody in Airbus sort of can go on a trajectory to become an analyst and sort of evolve on a journey to apply data science to their problems and sort of have the right tools and platforms for us to apply that to whatever the problems in the business is. So it's really a central approach for the tools, central expertise for data science and AI, and then basically spreading also and upskilling widely the wide business within the functions. I'm just going to dive into a bit how we separate the AI focus a bit. So something we've been very clear for Airbus is that AI will be a very ubiquitous technology that will affect sort of every area of our business, a very clear impact within 5 next years. We should not look for AI problems, but instead apply AI to the biggest cost centers and value streams inside of Airbus today. So we're really, really clear. This is a really clear focus of our team that we're not sort of applying AI for AI's sake, but very close look at the actual problems and seeing where it makes sense. So being spread all over the company. We've identified 5 key pillars, actually, when we talk about a focus on AI that we think will be best positioned to really have a large impact on the company in the 5 years. One is computer vision, and I'm going to show an example of this in just a second. So this is using computer vision, for example, to work through scanned documents, also to sort of monitor the shop floor activity in real time. It's also anomaly detection, so developing the next generation of anomaly detection on sensory data from the aircraft, for example. It's advanced decision making, so using big data to really augment decision making for many roles out there. Knowledge extraction, we have a ton of documents that are scanned that are laying somewhere of drawings and so on that need to be utilized to sort of augment the skills of engineers, for example. So it's extracting the knowledge and augmenting sort of the decision making of engineers very often. Conversational assistance, so this is the chatbots sort of helping process and routines through chatbot activity. And this is basically our strategy is these will be the 5 main AI pillars that we are focusing on, and that we in the central team are building platforms around that can then be redeployed and reused on several use cases around the company. Just to give you an example on what that means a bit more practically for two of those platforms. One is the computer vision. So what you see here, for example, is something we've done in a hangar in Toulouse where some of the aircraft is built and furnished. So it's naturally tricky in some of the legacy, well, not legacy, but the ERP systems we have to track work orders and sort of the progress of the actual production in the system. So it's not always fully tracked, and it doesn't have the granularity that we always are looking for. So something that we do to augment this picture in real time is actually using computer vision. So in this case, what you see here is a hangar. You see the model over here, where there's a lot of stations, a lot of work, a lot of parts being come and shipped in and being monitored, and really trying to track the progress of the manufacturing here. So what we do is we have set up four edge camera devices in the hangar that are feeding the pictures you see here. By augmenting those perspectives together, we can actually identify and track objects and manufacturing progression on the shop floor, while also making sure that, for example, workers on the shop floor are being retraced in the sense that they're actually being removed from the image, but we are tracking sort of positions. We can see where people are moving, where actual individual components are moving. Is the aircraft in a position? How far are the sections merged already, and so on. So this is, we've sort of built as a central platform that as a system, and with these algorithms already in place, trained on this Airbus sort of visuals, we can easily now redeploy on different sites in different countries. So this was a use case from Toulouse that we're now sort of porting to Hamburg, for example, and looking into sort of other manufacturing sites as well. As you know, we're manufacturing really across the globe and across Europe mainly. So we have many different production sites where this would be applicable. And it's bringing great value that was very difficult to achieve just by looking at the ERP systems. Another one is AI platforms for anomaly detection, which is quite interesting as well. It's really trying to look into the tasks of an engineer who looks at sensory data from test flights or from flights in general, and tries to see, is there anything out of the ordinary? So, for example, this is relating a bleed system where there's a certain pump, and it's basically still in normal operation, but we in the sort of early stages of wear that are not security significant, but that already issue a sort of a signal aware, you may see anomalies in the sensor readings that don't cause a warning, but they already show you early signs of a wear. So if you want to avoid sort of maybe an in-service problem where the pump would have to be replaced, you can see this very early on now with a sort of multi-dimensional anomaly detection. So this is working with LSTMs. It's far more advanced than the current state of the art. It's a very typical Airbus problem. That if we crack it well, we could really use this platform that we developed to be deployed on any kind of system across the aircraft or even machines. It's sort of multivariate, and it helps sort of engineers focus on the right areas where they detect anomalies. Something an engineer sort of just from the breadth of data can never have the time to look through themselves. So it's kind of mimicking that very specific skill through AI means. Just to give you some of the key principles of what we mean when we say democratizing analytics and AI. It really means basically having open data access by design across the company. So any kind of data set that people are allowed to look at, and data sensitivity is obviously an issue. We're also deep into space. So I'm working mostly in the commercial sector where it's not such a problem. But essentially making sure any kind of quality data, any kind of work orders are accessible throughout the country by the company by everybody. Then being able to upskill the internal workforce to become data analysts throughout the function so that they really understand what the capabilities of machine learning, AI, and so on really mean, and are able to really pair that with their problems. It's something that's very difficult from the perspective of the central team. and then enabling those analysts with the right tools and platforms. So essentially, we have internal GitHub instances. We have all the tools available to analysts out there. They can basically look into any data set and merge data from different silos, all with the means of their tools, and sort of really work even on early product development that then feeds into our central teams. And it's really then, once you have those analysts set up, it's really also about basically putting them into teams for their specific domains, building networks, leveraging communities, so really connecting and really breaking the silos, having local events, virtual events, making sure they have platforms to ask questions and share their experiences and their knowledge. This is really critical, and we really also look into utilize a lot inner source, so basically open source concepts, but within the company. We, in the big flow of sort of product development, we really try to push out, in that case, the exploration and the early sort of MVP stage development of ideas into the business that then feeds into our central team for industrialization. And just to give you a glimpse of what this looks like, so we have a really large training framework. So it's open to everybody in the company, actually. We're partnering with Udacity and Coursera, and the Pluralsight as well. So basically, anybody who has basic skills in coding can go on a journey of 10 months to become a data analyst. We've already have about 700 people trained across the 3 other functions. So basically, it's you have a large learning framework where any employee can embark to. Then this becomes the trained data analyst that then embark into actual teams central to their relative function who really specialize on comprehending the problems and priorities of that function and translate and sort of bring that together with the capabilities of analytics and AI to come up and focus on valuable use cases that they can feed in this really large funnel sort of to a central industrialization team. We then present sort of central data scientists who embark in those teams, help with our experience and scoping projects and focusing on value, applying the technologies the right way, and then also industrializing, obviously, the successes. And also, we provide a lot of governance and tooling and so on. What really makes this network in the end work and function is that the teams across this network then share their portfolio. They tackle problems of transverse value. So this is where we tackle sort of the silos. They can embark through the network of analytics teams through the functions. So you have teams maybe in procurement and engineering and finance and so on that identify common problems and can embark on projects together. The idea is for them to be centrally funded in the exploration phase. So basically essentially not having any roadblocks, not having to budget for every idea you come up with, but having central budget to really explore hundreds of ideas, thousands of ideas across the company and make sure that you really explore wide and then you funnel for value. Right, and then we give the central support and governance. Just a few numbers on the upskilling part. So I mentioned we have the partner program with Udacity. We also do very broad management awareness. We think it's really important that everybody in the company understands what AI and machine learning sort of capabilities are and where they fit problems and where they don't. And understand to think their problems in those capabilities as well. We already have 800 graduated analysts through this program. We've formed 6 of these embedded teams within the functions, and our community is very much alive, creating 10 plus events per month that used to be sort of only local events, actually, where the people share projects and experiences and what they worked on, and they're now actually virtual and have really grown in size. So why decentralize? It's really alien in some ways to Airbus and for sort of how the IM organization was usually run. But we really think that analytics and AI really transverse capabilities across the company and across the functions. A central team has limited capacity for exploration. So a team like ours could not, go to those hundreds of problems like the business itself could with these upskilled teams. Domain knowledge and being close to the domain is very key for the success of these kind of projects. And the evangelizing and empowerment that happens when you democratize and sort of decentralize all these skills is so much worthwhile for really fostering the data-driven culture. And we believe it's the only real way to truly scale analytics and AI applications across such a large enterprise. Just to give a short insight about how this has really helped us tackle with the COVID response. So as you know, Airbus it's obviously an industry that's in a difficult position in the COVID crisis. However, we can make increased basically by having this increased make ratio, having internal experts and upskilling the workforce, we have much more resilience towards budget challenges. So, where a lot of the analytics work was previously done with subcontractors, now relies on internal skill. So we have a lot of demand there. Also, this network of embedded teams really meant that we were very close to the problems that people were seeing, and could be very, very reactive with the central funding approach as well. So if problems came up and there was a really urgent need within the crisis, we could churn out, early products in 2 to 3 weeks even. Just a few examples. So basically, we've been developing dashboards for executive management as well, to be able to cover and be very close to the developments of flights across the countries, what markets are developing in what direction, what airlines are particularly hit, what countries are particularly hit, and also help engineers identify when all these aircraft are stored, what are they likely to encounter in terms of in-service sort of maintenance that they want to do before they bring the aircraft back into service. So they could do this very well with the skill tools we developed with them on very short notice. To close off, some of the very key findings that I want to encourage anybody sort of running or setting up analytics strategies in larger organizations is to really challenge and pivot project proposals for value. Don't just take a project proposal for granted. Really try and do the business analytics and the business relationship management to challenge and pivot the project proposals that you receive to maximize value, and don't just do AI for AI's sake, but really sort of stay close to trying to solve the large priority problems. The business proximity is really key. It's something we've really noticed. We're tying in the business very closely in exploring ideas and proposals, and actually in running the projects together. It's very often now even running them in the business actually. Do take big bets. So some of the biggest and most valuable topics we've had have been transversal topics that no function by themselves would have tackled alone. So really coming together and sort of making a bet on something that we really believe in has really paid off. So you need that kind of bit of risk funding, if you will. And do nail it before you scale it. So really think about very strongly about how you frame and scale, basically frame your MVPs, really test them with users to make sure they address and bring the value that you've scoped out. And only when that's really successful and you can see that the users are using your solution and it's actually viable, then you scale it. So I hope this was helping you see a bit how we tackle analytics and AI at scale in Airbus. Thanks for the time and thanks for having me. If there are any questions, you can also feel free to shoot me a message on LinkedIn. I'll be glad to answer. I imagine.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chair, for joining us today and being a part of the World AI Show. Well, an international spotlight, having you, it was a great, great session. So thank you once again, Chair.